Robin Williams was the first stand-up comedian I saw live. I would have been, I can't remember exactly, 16 or 17 years old. He was performing at the Riverside Theater in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and when I heard about the show, I immediately called for tickets. Which, of course, were unavailable. The show was sold out and had been for months. But they were considering adding a second performance. Did I want to be on a waiting list? Hell to the yeah, I did. Eventually, a late show was added, and I got my seat. All I remember of the evening is the fact I missed over half the jokes because I was laughing so hard. Tears ran down my face, and my face, jaw, and belly hurt at the end of the night. My wife likes to joke that I have no soul because I don't cry often. She, for the record, cries at the drop of a hat, during movies, commercials, while reading. She even cried at the birth of both our children, and seriously, who does that? What? Wait, everyone does? Oh, my bad. My wife is quite in tune with her sad side because she suffers from clinical depression. She was diagnosed and placed on medication at age 20, and it changed her world. For the first time since childhood, evil thoughts weren't pounding away at her constantly, telling her her life had no value and making her feel worthless. I've never been diagnosed as manic depressive, but it is heavily prevalent on my father's side of the family, and I have had plenty of damaging thoughts about my own self-worth. I have also been right on the cusp of suicide. My story is no secret, and it is neither original nor special. I moved a lot as a child, and my parents had an unhappy marriage. Combine those, and you have a kid who thought friendships don't last and love isn't real. I swam inside the idea I would never have friends or be loved. Once beliefs like that become ingrained in your cellular structure, they live with you for decades. You can combat the feelings using positive influences such as therapy or medication, or self-medicate using drugs, alcohol, or my method of escape, stand-up comedy. I mean, everyone knows you don't become a comedian when everything is okay inside your noggin, right? Again, this wasn't an original reaction to what I felt. Most comics worth their weight in salt have something hidden inside them that pushes them to the spotlight. Personally, comedy was both a weapon and a shield for me. It became a barrier that gave me distance from the world. Think Pink Floyd's The Wall, and was a weapon used to attack when feeling defensive, which, to someone depressed, is quite often. Like any drug, you eventually build up an immunity to it. For a while, the glory of a great show sits with you and carries you through the dark hours. But after a while, it's not enough. As a comedian, you go from being on stage in front of 200 people, basking in the glory of their laughter, to alone in your hotel room, the thoughts of worthlessness screaming at you at the top of their lungs. When your main drug fails, you compound it with others. You use women, alcohol, drugs, and whatever you can get your hands on. My outlets during bouts of depression were music and anger. Music because there were songs I could relate to and feel not so alone in the world. No matter what I was going through, I could tether to an artist and understand I was neither unique nor special. They knew what I was going through, which mattered to me. Anger because when I was at my wit's end and absolutely ready to end it all, the overwhelming desire to say fuck you to whatever God may be out there would carry me through the sadness. Depression happens, so buck up and deal with it, you pansy. Every fiber of my body would be telling me to end it, to just exit this world and to escape the pain. But suicide seemed like losing, and I hate losing. I was 8 years old when I discovered Mork and Mindy. In life, that's what's known as perfect timing. as the show was aimed directly at 8-year-old sensibilities. I had no clue who Robin Williams was. I just knew that I laughed at the wacky man pretending to be an alien. I more than laughed, actually. I reflected. Each episode ended with a moral, an oft-times touching moment where Mork waxed philosophic on what he was learning on Earth and reported that information to Orson. It was in those moments I discovered the genius that was Robin Williams. He could make you laugh, but he wanted to make you cry. Maybe, and I'm just spitballing here, because if you were crying, he felt not so alone in his pain. I cannot say that with absolute certainty, but I don't believe it is too far a throw. Anyway, an instant fan, I became obsessed with both Mork and Robin. I scampered around the house saying "Nanu Nanu" and "Shazbut." I begged and was taken to The World According to Garp, a movie not exactly marketed to children. Whenever Robin's name was on a film, I was there. Good Morning Vietnam made me howl. Dead Poets Society made me cry. To me, Robin Williams was a god. He meant more to me than just about everyone, except maybe Martin Riggs, but that's another story. Robin was open about 2 of his drugs, alcohol and cocaine, but I've not really heard anyone discuss his other weaknesses: women and marriage. Comedians aren't special creatures. Like anyone else, they find solace in the arms of a lover to assuage their pain. After his first marriage failed, Robin quickly married his daughter's nanny. Then, just a few years outside the end of his near 21-year second marriage, married a third woman. I will neither judge nor analyze his behavior, but I will say I am all too familiar with the pattern. The thoughts of not wanting to be alone and of wanting to feel loved when you believe you are unlovable, that hits close to home. In my younger years, I entered into several relationships too quickly, if only because I was astounded by the fact someone seemed to like me. It was only when I reached my 30s that the desperation faded. I went through therapy and examined the origins of my insecurities, and I finally hit my Malcolm Gladwell tipping point of failed relationships. I began to attack my depression and eventually realized what I had wasn't medical. I didn't have a disease, I just had a shitty childhood I needed to deal with. Robin Williams, he suffered from the disease. His was a depression greater than mine. That means his hole was larger than most, one that couldn't be filled by millions of dollars, awards, or adoring fans. When he looked in the mirror, he didn't see an icon, he saw his own insecurities. And in the end, that was too much to bear. His lifelong battle with depression, combined with the diagnosis of Parkinson's and undiagnosed Lewy body dementia, finally got the best of him at age 63. I was at the gym when the news broke. I'd finished up my workout, grabbed my phone, and it was waiting for me in a text. Robin Williams, dead, suicide. I think my only surprise was at how not surprised I was. Knowing his life and story, I don't want to say I expected it, but after Belushi, Farley, Richard Jeni, and Greg Giraldo, it just wasn't as out of left field for me as it may have been for others. But that didn't make it any less tragic. As I drove home, I started to well up. Pulling into my garage, I could feel the tears behind my eyes. I got out of my car, opened the door to my house, and inside, my 2-year-old daughter was playing on the floor in the kitchen. "Daddy!" she shouted happily. "Hi, sweetie," I croaked. My wife asked me something, I don't remember what. I tried answering, and she heard it in my voice. Alarmed, she jumped up, saw my eyes, and started asking, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay?" I waved her off twice, saying, "Nothing, it's nothing." But she kept prodding, hugging me tightly in the process. "Robin Williams committed suicide," I finally sputtered. I wept for about 20 seconds, then felt a mix of better and silly, which is how I believe most people feel after crying in front of others. If anything, it made my wife joyful. "I can't say you don't have a soul anymore," she cheered. I still miss Robin Williams. All these almost 10 years later, I will probably forever miss Robin Williams.